Well, hello team, good morning. It is 6:41 a.m, which some of you will scoff at, but for me, that's pretty early. And big kind of announcement. The way that I train is kind of changing fairly significantly. The way that I'm going to approach everything in terms of kind of biohacks and recovery is going to change in accordance with that. And basically I am kind of for the time being leaving the hashtag functional fitness scene and kind of staying along the lines of the same objective, kind of wanting to be all round fit and healthy. I'm going to transition into becoming a hybrid athlete for a bit. And this is something that's kind of been on the periphery for a while, but I'm really excited about it. And that basically, for those of you that don't know, kind of means that there is a strength kind of component of your training or strength and power and speed component of your training and an endurance component of your training. So someone who is a hybrid athlete could do powerlifting and triathlons or strongman and OCR, if you see what I mean. So there's a couple of, might sound nuanced, but incredibly relevant changes compared to something like CrossFit, which is like, well, they do strength work and endurance work there. As an example, if you're a hybrid athlete, you do not train these things together. That's kind of, and there's a lot of strength conditioning literature on why it's probably better that you don't train them together. And my kind of focus is I'm on the strength side. Instead of purely strongman, purely powerlifting, whatever, I've got kind of a similar GPP, like general physical preparedness, strength and hypertrophic goal, because I still want to kind of maintain a little bit of lean muscle mass. And then on the endurance side, it's probably going to be geared more towards kind of a little bit of recreational running, maybe run a quick mile, quick 5K, quick for me anyway, and then see how I get on from there. Basically, I want to be able to lift, I want to be able to feel strong, I want to be able to do all the power stuff and the plyometrics that I can do, and I want to kind of keep going with those. But at the same time, I want to be able to run without pain, and I want that to be kind of, I want that to feel fairly kind of free and mobile. Get into a good rhythm, a good cadence, and your breathing's good, and your stride length is good, and everything's kind of synchronized. It really does feel free. And for me, it's kind of the epitome of like, right, do I feel mobile? Can I run a quick half mile or mile? So not just the super long stuff, but can I kind of, run a decent clip and pick up the pace a little bit? And for me, that feels super freeing. So that is why I'm moving over into hybrid training. I'm not doing it on my own. I have enlisted the help of a coach. For those of you that don't know Fergus Crawley, he's very well known as a hybrid athlete. And even kind of in the CrossFit world, he kind of made a bit of a name for himself. But the fact that he squatted 500 pounds and ran a sub 5-minute mile in the same day. He's done a couple of other challenges as well. And him and a guy called Johnny Payne run a coaching company called OMNIA Performance. So the reason why I'm up at what is now 6:44, I have enlisted the help of OMNIA Performance, and before they can coach me, they need me to complete a testing week. And that is one of the things, that is what I'm doing this week. That is how my training is going to be structured this week. And today is day one, being Monday morning, and it is to run a super quick, as quick as possible. It is to run a 1 mile time trial. This is the only time that I can have camerawoman Danny. Say hi, Danny. And we're going to be doing that this morning. So I have my handy drinks at my aid. I'm going to hopefully rehydrate, mobilize a little bit now. We'll get out there in about 25-30 minutes, warm up a little bit, and then we'll get cracking. Electrolytes, when you mix these with water, you get this. So as you know, if you've been an avid subscriber for a while, I intermittent fast, which means I should not be having food till midday, 1 p.m. So electrolytes are phenomenal for kind of chipping away a little bit of body fat anyway when you are fasting, because that's one of the things that being in a fasting window, it's one of the things that your body tries to do, kind of take advantage of that process. It tastes like shit. Smart fast, if you think I'm gobbing off about the taste of your product, you will not be offended because you will know that it tastes like ass. But the primary thing is it does good for you. So I won't be drinking all of this, about half of this, and then I kind of sip this through the morning. But also salts work on your adrenal system, which is really good because that's kind of on from when you get up. Bit of electrolytes now, and then onto the good stuff. Coffee in, salts in, let's go. And as if by magic, we are here. We've literally come down to just kind of a local industrial estate because of all the places I could think of. This is how un-endurance athlete I am. I had to run a mile time trial and it took quite a lot of thought as to where the hell I was actually even going to do it. because I have no idea where is appropriately flat. So we've just come down here, me and camerawoman Danny. Say hi, Danny.
Good morning.
How do you feel at, well, no, it's 7:15 now.
Yeah.
That's a reasonable time, 7:15. So quick kind of, what I'm gonna try and do actually, because obviously for you guys, when you see how I fare at all kind of phases, and Danny can't necessarily run with me with the camera, I'm gonna try to find a little kind of like 400 meter loop, 400 or 800 meter loop, and then do a couple of laps of that. So a mile is 1600 meters for those of you that don't know. I'm gonna do a little warm up now, and a few bits and bobs of mobility, and then because it's not particularly warm, we should probably crack straight on. So that's about half a mile. So if I start a bit further down that way, 2 laps of that and it should be fine. I just need to find a way to turn that it isn't simply dropping my weight and kind of going. But at the same time, because I want to kind of document it in this way, I don't want to just do one straight line. So we shall see if that turns out right and correct, and then see how we get on. But even if I do have to turn, it's not really at the level that I'm at. It's not going to detract that much, because you know I'm looking for in a rough ballpark. And today, it's not about setting a PB, right? It's what I said earlier. This is like baseline testing week with OMNIA Performance now. So my only objective is to kind of lay down a time that is accurate and honest. And I actually did a practice run yesterday, which I wasn't kind of planning on doing, but dust off the cobwebs, I thought, because I hadn't run in a couple of weeks. In fact, I don't really run at all right now, but I thought I'd give it a go. Did a bit of a warm up, felt all right, stopped, and then thought I'll just give this a crack now on a fairly kind of flat path, and did 6:40, so at 4:09k pace. And that felt okay, probably a little bit more left in the tank. Went out a little bit too slow. And today, aerobically, I feel really good, but my calves are in flipping pieces right now. And I think again, it's just because I'm just not used to running. So with that, it's just that level of volume, going at a moderately decent clip for probably about 2 miles total, kind of door to door. We'll see how we get on, and we'll see whether or not the calves kind of hold up. Feeling nice and mobile. Give about another 2 minutes, and then we'll go. Right, so 3, 2, 1, let's go. Turns out I slightly undershot the route. So 2 laps in, came around, still about 110 meters to go. Just completely run past the camera. But that was really good. So 6:40, basically on the dot, was my my trial yesterday with a 4:09 kilometer pace. Just 3:56 kilometer pace, 6:23. This one. Boop. Yeah, super bloody chuffed with that actually. My calves felt a little bit tired on the warm up. Well, not tired, sorry. That's not really what I should say. They just felt a little bit like really tight, especially on the lateral side. The second I stopped, that literally continued. It's pressing play on it. So luckily it kind of paused during the run. Probably the plyometric nature of it just kind of kept it moving, so even if there was pain I couldn't really notice. Super happy with that. That was kind of the one I was worried about, because it's always difficult. The shorter stuff does suck more. Like an hour's run, yeah, it's long, but you can kind of bitch out from actually having to work hard, and you just can't do that when you're only working for, now I can say, less than 6.5 minutes. So yeah, super chuffed with that. 6:23.54, 3:56 kilometer pace. A little bit of a downhill at the start actually, which I didn't notice, but I noticed the uphill on the way back. But yeah, super flipping chuffed with that. So I'm gonna go home, probably gonna spray some magnesium oil on my calves now, loosen off a little bit with a cool down here, and then we'll see how I'm feeling in a few hours. A few hours later, I've had some coffee, had some food, I've refueled, I've had a shower, fairly obviously, and overall I feel all right. Aerobically I feel fine, my quads feel fine, everything feels all right, literally just my calves. It's just, I did a practice run yesterday, as I said earlier, on some hard ground. Probably in hindsight, I don't know if that was a good thing to do or not. definitely kind of dusted off some cobwebs and I feel all right now. Aerobically, I kind of feel fine. It kind of got me into the cadence of today, but just everything's on concrete. I've basically gone from no flipping running to trying to run at a moderately decent clip. But it's a journey, it's a process. I'm not obviously particularly enamored with my time, but effectively I've got the before picture. That is kind of what today is. It's baseline testing to move into this hybrid program that Fergus Crawley will be programming for me from OMNIA Performance, to see how I kind of go moving forward. So refuel, kind of stretch out, mobility stuff. Also had a sauna session since the run this morning. Might get in an ice bath later. We'll see how we get on, but that is day one done. Let's see what tomorrow has in store for us. It is day 2. And how am I feeling? I'm tired. I am tired, I'm not gonna lie. However, I have recovered fairly well. I've rolled my calves out. I have one coaching call this morning, and then I'm straight on the train up to London, and I'm actually gonna be training today at 1 London in Imperial Wharf, and today is an upper body day. What that looks like, I'll walk you through a little bit later. However, for now, let's get my red and infrared light on, which is amazing. It's one of these kind of crazy units here. And basically it's incredible for tendons, it's incredible for skin, and considering my Achilles tendons are, who even flipping knows what they are anymore. This is gonna get bright. Boom! Is what I wanna be doing. So stand against it, and just let my body soak up that lovely red and infrared medicine over the next few minutes. I'll have one coaching call shortly, and then it's gotta be a shot of coffee, and then up to the city we go. And we're here, guys. We're just outside 1 London, near Imperial Wharf. And this is where my day has brought me, but I'm not going to deviate from my program, which means I'm doing my upper body strength and capacity test today. So I've got a couple of heavy singles on bench. I'm then going to drop that down to about 60, there you got run over there, about 60% of that, and basically as many reps as possible. I think I do that for either 1 or 2 sets. I'm fairly kind of elastic anyway, and I do like to kind of take advantage of the stretch reflex, so that's actually something that might end up being quite good for me. I've then got a horizontal pull test. I've then got some pull-ups. I've got some strict press. So basically horizontal push-pull and vertical push-pull, they are all being tested. The push stuff for maxes, the pull stuff more for kind of capacity, but there's capacity stuff for the pushes as well. I can't exactly remember what exactly it is we're doing, but luckily I've got the program on me. So I'm gonna head in now, 5-10 minutes warm up, and then I'm not sure how favorably the gym will look upon me if I'm vlogging inside. So what I might just do is stick you lovely people on a tripod, and then you'll hear my voice for a commentary in a second. And here we go, guys, Jim Gavin with a commentary. So as you can see here, nice kind of chilled out approach to warming up. However, as always, need to do some dynamic sprint drills, even if it's an upper body session, even if it's just upper body testing where overall the volume is quite low. Whether or not it's part of my routine or superstition or whatever, it just makes me feel kind of primed, it makes me feel innovated. So do some mobility stuff around the hips, do some kind of quick stuff, quick high knees, dynamic lunges as you're seeing here, and that just kind of gets me prepped. Moving on to the bench press itself, I've always got kind of the same rough approach to kind of a 1 rep max testing, and that's to do 5 reps on 60. I then go up to 2 or 3 reps of 80, kind of nice, kind of controlled. You know, maybe leave it on the chest for a second, just kind of make sure that we can get the strength to overcome that inertia. And then from there, it is singles going up. So 1 warm-up set of 5 reps, 1 warm-up set of 3 reps, and then just heavy singles going up from there. The goal here is basically to do 2 heavy singles, not necessarily a 2 rep max, but a heavy single, and then I guess kind of the thinking behind this is just to make sure that it's not a fluke. So you rest about 2 minutes and then go again. I did 2 reps of 120 last week with a 4-second eccentric on each. So I knew that I had at least kind of 120 in me. I was hoping I'd be happy with 125, really happy with 130, and as you're seeing here, 130 is what I got. So overall, really happy. I mean, I don't know if I could have gone up to 135 or 140, but definitely think I could have squeezed a few more reps out at 130 with a couple of minutes in between each one. So really happy with how this went, and it's a good kind of way to kick off the upper body section of this testing. Here's where it gets a little bit spicier. So you work out 60% of this, which for me is 77.5 or 78, so I put 77.5 on the bar. And then I've got 2 sets where I basically do as many reps as possible. Again, because I'm quite elastic, this does kind of benefit me a little bit actually, because I can just drop the bar down and keep it moving. So that transition of kind of taking it down to the chest and then driving up from there is quite a nice, intuitive, natural movement. 23 reps on the first round of this.
a good kind of 2.5 minutes break, and then I went again and another 15, where I just started to kind of feel everything blow up from about 10 reps. But one of the kind of the keys on this, I would say, guys, if you're ever doing a max rep set and that is the objective, always cut shy, always basically stop a couple of reps kind of short of complete failure in terms of doing it unbroken. So obviously it does help to kind of rest at the top as such. If you feel as though you've got kind of 13, 15 reps in the tank, do 11 or 12 reps, take a couple of breaths with your arms extended, and then go back into kind of that nice dynamic movement. So that is the first section done, guys. That is a horizontal push. That is the bench testing for both kind of a rough 2-rep max and then some capacity stuff to work out your 1-rep max continuum. And now we are on to some vertical pull. So we are doing wide grip pull-ups. This is a really interesting one, actually. This is 45 seconds, as many reps as possible. I got 20 for this. I think I did kind of about 18 or so, and then dropped down, shook my arms off, realized I had a few more seconds, and then jumped back on. And again, I think taking structured breaks in that, unless you are able to do continuous unbroken for 45 seconds, which I don't imagine many people are, I think that's the best strategy. Again, cutting shy just before failure, shaking your arms off, and then going again. And then basically 2 minutes break, and then narrow grip chin up. So basically underhand with this one, and 20 again, which, even though I was more fatigued, this is in theory an easier movement by the fact it's underhand, and the way that I'm kind of biomechanically wired anyway, this is definitely favorable for me. So 20 reps on the chin-ups. Again, I'm not sure if all of them were kind of absolutely strict, but I just kind of kept my mid-back activated and then just tried to kind of keep the pull levers moving from there. Onto the second little bit of pushing, guys, onto strict press, working my way up to a 1-rep max. I was intrigued as to how this was going to go, actually. The warm-ups felt nice and easy, big deep breath and then drive from there, trying to move my legs obviously as little as possible. That's kind of the whole thing, it's the strict press. But considering I'd done not only the maximum testing on the bench, but the high rep testing on the bench, I was concerned about whether or not that was just going to absolutely write me off. Overall, it felt all right, and so much did it feel all right that I actually ended up getting a brand new 1-rep max of 90 kilos, which I'm very, very, very bloody happy with here. And then finishing off with some 70 kilo rows, overhand to start with, 25 on set 1, and this is basically as many as you can before form starts to break down. Couple of minutes break, and then 20 reps on the second set. And then you go straight into exactly the same 2 more sets of underhand row this time. Again, trying to keep form as strict as possible. 20 reps on both sets of this, which basically goes to show that kind of my pull levers at the very least have a very good ability to kind of refill the tank. Because as far as it goes for the total 4 sets, 25, then 20, then 20, then 20. So luckily it's not decreasing that much. But that being said, I don't know how much form was being compromised. But all in all, pretty happy with this. Obviously, I've shown you the kind of the working sets as such, but with the warm-up sets, I have to say this is a pretty chunky session actually in terms of total volume, but overall really, really happy with how this upper body capacity testing day went. And there we go, that concludes day 2 of this testing week. Quite happy with those numbers actually, I have to say, with both the bench and the overhead. Pretty surprised. Yeah, very pleasantly actually. I genuinely did think I'd be doing that, considering I've got a pec tendon problem. I haven't really done an awful lot of barbell work. Obviously I needed that downtime that I took after kind of 7 years worth of being burnt out, and I basically did nothing or very little for kind of 2 to 3 weeks, and I think that helped a lot. Just tissue regeneration, nervous system properly rested, refueled as well, because effectively I'm kind of going into this testing week now very fresh, but maybe a little bit lethargic. But yeah, super happy with that. The higher numbers, kind of happy with the pull-ups. The rows were okay. Really noticed that the plates are falling off on one side, so we'll look into that. But that is day 2 done. Lower body capacity tomorrow. Let's see how it goes. What is going on, team? It is actually now not day 3. It is in fact day 4. The reason for that is I had a bit of a rest day yesterday. Bit of a rest day, complete rest day. And the reason for that was I am doing my lower body testing today, and Mr. Crawley has put some deadlift stuff in there and some safety bar box squats. And I only actually have access to a safety bar, and I want to do this thing properly, and I only have access to a safety bar on a Thursday when I go to Route 1, formerly known as OPEX Gatwick. So I'll be heading over there shortly. I'm just going to grab some food now, quick coffee, go over there, and then for the most neurally demanding thing you can imagine, super heavy deadlifts and super heavy squats all in one. Let's go. Lunch has been had, fueled up. I'm not doing too much cardio today, so we're not going to have a repeat of last week when I was doing 400 meter reps, which was my first running session in a while. full of 6 eggs and a venison steak. So, although I've had exactly the same now. So, food has been had. I'm literally just about to have my second coffee of the day, my first main one. The first one just a shot of espresso in the morning. But this is shroom coffee, Arabica, slightly less caffeine than I would normally have. It's just 60 milligrams, kind of like half what I'd normally have probably. A third of what would be in an energy drink. But it's 60 milligrams of caffeine, and it's basically made from Arabica beans, but it also has mushrooms in it. So it is chaga, lion's mane, and cordyceps, I believe. This is from Real Superfoods. Their shroom coffee is flipping amazing. And it basically works as, obviously, as well as a stimulant, it just works as a cognitive sharpener. So I find I don't actually have it all the time now. I like to kind of almost save it and have it in my back pocket for when I've got cheeky sessions to do. But this being like a testing week session, this definitely kind of fits the bill. So I'll neck this now, get in the car, and over to Route 1 Fitness we go. A couple of minutes on the bike done, just 50 calories on a bike erg. Again, it's lower body capacity testing today, so I'm gonna do some heavy deadlifts, and then some kind of like endurance deadlifts, heavy safety bar box squat, and then some kind of an endurance approach to that. And I think that's it actually. A few bits and bobs of mobility, some sprint drills as standard now, and then let's go. What is going on, guys? Jim Galvin back here again with the commentary, and we are on to lower body, starting off with deadlift, working my way up to a 3-rep max. And this is a very similar approach to the upper body stuff in terms of there is one warm-up set where you do kind of 60, 70 kilos, whatever it may be, of 5 reps. Then you drop down to 3, and then because this is a 3-rep max testing, what I actually did is kind of flip it on its head, and I actually did just singles ascending. Instead of doing 3 reps at every kind of stage of the ladder, working my way up to a 3-rep max, I think 1 rep is enough to basically keep me primed and warm me up, ready for the next weight. So doing 1 rep on the way up to that 3-rep max for me is just a really good way to actually kind of keep as much as possible in the tank. Unlike the bench day, this was a little bit of a blank canvas in terms of my expectations because I just didn't have a clue what I'd be hitting. One of the reasons being not necessarily because I didn't know how strong I was feeling, but more just because I hadn't deadlifted properly in 5-6 months, more than just picking up 60 kilos as part of a Metcon session. And as I'm only doing singles, as I'm only doing 1 rep on the way to my 3-rep max, I really had to tune into my body when I was doing these warm-up sets to not only say, am I able to go heavier, but also ask myself the question of, am I able to go heavier for 3? And I thought I'd actually do 180 for 3 and thought kind of that would be it. But I did 180 for 1 and it felt so light, I was like, there's no way that I'm only settling this. I definitely need to put some more weight on the bar. So I went up to 200, did 200 kilos for 3, and not even touch and go with a proper pause and reset at the bottom. And this was completely beltless in nothing but flipping primary school PE kit. So over the moon with 200 kilos for 3, considering I genuinely didn't think that I would get anywhere near this. Definitely spicier than you think. I need to check the clock, but I think I got 21 on that one. So obviously 1 rep max or 3 rep max, I suppose. 200 beltless, happy with that. And then the direction from there is 75%. Easy to work out, 150 kilos. And then basically do as 1 rep for as long as you can, 1 rep every 10 seconds. And I was basically having no eccentric on that. If I had a controlled eccentric and then reset at the bottom, it basically just would have been 1 long flipping set. So I don't know if that was the way I was supposed to do it or not. But the technical direction from the guys at OMNIA was basically keep going until you start to feel form breakdown. And for me, the interesting thing is I actually felt that kind of almost in my lats and my shoulders, which I don't normally on deadlifts, but I don't normally do sets of 20. So that's deadlifting done, both the max stuff and the capacity stuff, which gives them obviously a good indicator as to roughly what my max is to work out kind of percentages from that. And also kind of my what's called my 1 rep max continuum. So my kind of strength endurance at certain percentages, etc. So I have no idea whether that's good or not. No baseline, because that's not something that I do. Never kind of conduct myself, never conduct testing in that way, which is why it's kind of good to do and it's fun and new. Deadlifting done, now onto the safety bar. And deadlifts are done, so we're moving on to the next stage of the testing, which is safety bar box squats. Big fan of this. I think overall holding a safety bar is a much more functional position for your body and for your torso and for your arms than holding a barbell in a back rack position. Couple of warm-up sets of 60, and as you are seeing here, 100 kilos on the bar, and this should be fairly comfortable considering I did 170 for 6 just a matter of weeks ago back when I was in Spain. And my left knee, which has been a bit tweaky for, well, basically since Spain, decided that it was having absolutely none of this flipping testing week today. Super sharp pain on the outside and underneath my left knee when I was doing a few warm-up reps of 100 kilos. Barbell went straight back in the rack, and even a body weight squat is something that proves incredibly painful at range when I'm in that position. So it's really, really, really annoying, but the decision was made straight away. I didn't really have to think about knocking it all on the head, because unfortunately this is kind of a recurring thing. So what I decided to do again is kind of take advantage of this opportunity, try to see it as an opportunity, get myself back upstairs to the top level, do some backwards prowler drags, which are incredibly good for knee health, and then take advantage of the GHD as well. So even though it's a conventionally shit situation, because I have this thing and I really, really want to attack this new session, and I can't even complete the testing week properly, at least I managed to get in some sled work ahead of my world record in July and some hamstring work in the form of a GHD, which I don't always have access to. So at least that is a bit of a tick in the box, and it's me just trying to make good on what is conventionally kind of a bit of a negative situation. Well, that was bloody annoying, wasn't it? So, not particularly happy with that. I am annoyed. I do have to be honest. I'll be honest in the spirit of integrity. That pisses me off a little bit, man. Yeah, it's been a bit of a flipping issue for a while. As I'm sure I have already mentioned in my audio overlay. But yeah, so for now, I guess all I can do is keep stretching, have a chat with different physios, do some Googling and see what I can come up with. As usual, go to Ben Simons and see if he's got any kind of pearls of wisdom and little nuggets, and then kind of see how we get on from there. But I'm happy with the deadlift. I'm happy with the number of reps. I got at 150 as well. And it was an opportunity to do some knee rehab stuff, some sled work, and some GHDs. I for my own sanity, and because I think it's a good practice anyway, you know, if something goes to shit, there's always an opportunity to do something else. Like Dawn, the lovely lady that I was chatting to in the gym then, she was talking about kind of feeling a little bit tired, a little bit burnt out this week, and I said it always, things like that, when it's so easy to just say it's shit, so I'll revert back to X or whatever, and this is annoying because of Y. But I genuinely do think, cliche as it might sound, that you're like, well, it's susceptible to training, right? It's a practice. I have to practice the art of trying to find an opportunity in something. You know, COVID for a lot of people was an opportunity to think about their career, or it was an opportunity to not have to commute and save money on petrol. Like, there's loads of things, and like I always said to her, an opportunity, like being burnt out was an opportunity to focus on some like corrective, like single arm, single leg corrective stuff. So for me, the fact that I couldn't squat, I still had the time allocated to be in the gym. So it was an opportunity to do some sled work, kind of in accordance with my upcoming world record. So it's kind of the way that I have to look at it. Stretch out, mobility, get my tendons in front of the red light, drink some bone broth, and we'll see what tomorrow has in store. Day 5. As you can see, the weather outside is... I don't really know if you can see how much it's raining, but it's absolutely miserable. So I'm glad that today's part of the testing is inside on a static bike at the very least. So hopefully I don't have to go outside in this shit. So this day is going to start with me going to get a haircut in a minute. There's a fresh trim to make me lighter for running. That'll work, obviously. And then I'm going to go down basically in my local Pure gym. And there is a test on a static bike, either a watt bike or a Concept 2 bike. They only have watt bikes where I'm going, so I'll be using one of those. And I will walk you through exactly what to do in a second. But for now, even before I go get a haircut, it's time for coffee. And here we are doing slightly unorthodox for me as a power athlete, because everything in the endurance world is kind of unorthodox. But basically, nice dynamic warm up as standard, guys. Some plyos, get myself nice and warm. And then what we are going to do is we're actually going to move over to a watt bike, and there's 2 different sections of this. So get nice and warm on the watt bike, kind of get the heart rate leveled and used to the movement that we are performing. And then what we are going to do is we're actually going to go into a maximum test of basically 5 minutes. And you can set this on the watt bike. I didn't realize this because I'd literally never even looked at these flipping functions before. But 5 minutes, and what I'm doing is I'm measuring my average watts over the course of kind of a maximum effort of 5 minutes. And it's difficult to kind of communicate whether or not this is good or bad because I have literally no point of reference, but I had an average of 261 watts over the course of the 5 minutes with a power peak of 597. And to be completely honest, I think I probably could have done a little bit more with this. I just had no idea how to pace this. It's been so long since I've done any what I would class as steady state endurance work. So it's just really flipping interesting to kind of see how I get on. But then what we do after the 5 minutes is kind of bring your heart rate down a little bit for about 10 minutes, a nice kind of smooth ride, just kind of keeping the legs ticking over so that lactic isn't kind of settling in the legs. And then what I do is I go into a 20-minute test. Again, maximum watts in 20 minutes. Again, didn't really know how to pace this, and this is the one that I definitely know in hindsight I kind of cocked up. And an average wattage here with this of 170 with a peak power of 620 to finish off. So again, if I'm finishing off at 620, comparing that to the 5 minutes, I'm definitely doing something wrong and I'm starting too slow. And the average wattage is actually a metric that you get to see on the screen the whole time, and it was around about like 155 for the first 5-10 minutes, and then I had to bring it up because I just realized that I just wasn't working flipping hard enough. So I think I kind of bitched out a little bit because I just didn't know how I'd get on. But again, it's all learnings, that's the thing. I mean, this is just baseline testing. This is why I'm not being too hard on myself with this. And even learning how to pace yourself in steady state work is a skill set that I'm just not used to, and I've had massive skill fade on. Obviously, I used to do a lot of this when I was in the military, but considering I left the Royal Marines about 10 years ago, it's definitely gone. So just learning to kind of kinesthetically tune into my body and know where I am with this. It's a skill set I don't really have in abundance that much right now, but I'm looking forward to learning. So 170 watts average, 620 watts was kind of a power peak to finish off with. Definitely a little bit ball bagged by the end. I did kind of leave it all on the bike. The issue is I went a little bit too slow. I went way too slow for the first half. So 170 watts average, 620 watts on a power peak. I definitely did kind of leave it all on the bike for the last few minutes. The issue is I just went too slow for the first 10. But once again, we live and we learn. And we are here, beautiful people, on day 7. But it's actually not day 7, it's a couple of days after. But I will walk you through what happened. So, scheduled for the last little section of the testing week was basically a steady state run to keep my heart rate at a certain level and get as far as I can in a 30-minute run, having my heart rate not go above 155, I think it was. And basically, I was cocking about the day before on Saturday, and I say I was cocking about, I probably need to give myself a little bit more credit than that. But I literally jumped over something to get in a flipping photo and tweaked my calf. And A, I've been running more generally, and B, I've been wearing barefoot running shoes, or barefoot shoes. I've been wearing Vivos a lot more. And with that, I just think I've flipping messed it up. So what I basically started doing, we can't use this footage, but just a bit of context of what happened. I started running and I was like, if there's a little bit of soft tissue damage, or if there's like a little bit of a knot or whatever, and I start going, it'll loosen off and it'll feel easier, then I'll keep going. And basically that was kind of what I was hoping would happen. And to be honest, arrogantly, that was kind of what I expected to happen, and that is not what happened. It started to get worse and worse and more painful. And I was limping. I mean, it was a 30-minute run, and I was limping. It was getting worse to the degree that it made me limp within, 4 or 5 minutes or something. So, that's crazy. So I just kind of I just stopped and knocked it on the head. So I've got a couple of treatments booked. I'm gonna have some soft tissue stuff on there. I'm gonna have some acupuncture on there. Obviously, frustrating kind of conclusion of this testing week, bearing in mind I'm trying to become a hybrid athlete. One of the reasons is because I want to run without the pain. And turns out I cannot do that just yet. But again, you kind of have to look at this crap as an opportunity. I've already spoke to my coach about it, and what we're going to do is we're going to do a lot more cycling now. So even if it's for the first kind of 2-3 weeks, I'm going to put a lot more bike stuff in there. And I've never done that. I've never really had exposure to that. So it's an opportunity to try something new. And that's the way, and basically it is to a certain degree, having that perspective is a choice. It's not necessarily an emotion, especially not immediately. It is frustrating, it is annoying, but I can either say that I'm losing all this flipping money and it pisses me off because of X, Y, and Z, or I can be like, okay, well, I can't do it. I can still focus on the fact that I'm going to be getting a new gym program, and I'd have to do conditioning work anyway, so why not get some direction on how to do that on like a watt bike, because I've never really focused on that. So that's what I'm trying to do. So I'm making the decision to focus on things in that way. So yeah, just thought I'd update you on the unfortunate conclusion, but opportunistic conclusion of the last part of that testing week. But really, really excited to kind of attack the Omnia stuff moving forwards. Hope you've enjoyed the video so far. If you have, please do give it a like.
Please do leave any kind of positive comments or questions down in the comment section below. If you have not yet done so, please do subscribe. This might sound like a threat, and it is. Have an amazing day, guys. Stay strong, stay healthy, stay awesome, and I look forward to showcasing my hybrid pursuits over the next few months. Have a good one, guys. See you soon.